Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. With the price of just about everything going up during inflation, we thought we'd bring our prices down. So to help us, we brought in a reverse auctioneer, which is apparently a thing.
Mint Mobile Unlimited Premium Wireless. How to get 30, 30, bit to get 30, bit to get 20, 20, 20, bit to get 20, 20, bit to get 15, 15, 15, 15, just $15 a month? Sold!
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 up front for 3 months plus taxes and fees. Promo rate for new customers for limited time. Unlimited more than 40 gigabytes per month. Slows full terms at mintmobile.com.
Look, Bumble knows you're exhausted by dating. All the must not take yourself too seriously and 6'1" since that matters. And what do I even say other than hey? Well, that's why they're introducing an all-new Bumble with exciting features to make compatibility easier, starting the chat better, and dating safer. They've changed, so you don't have to. Download the new Bumble now.
We work hard as physicians to take care of the health and well-being of our patients. But when it comes to our money, do we have the same condition of care? Probably not. Let's change that together. Welcome to the Financial Freedom for Physicians podcast, where we'll fight and advocate for your financial literacy. As always, I'm your host, Dr. Christopher Liu. Thanks for being here. Let's jump into the show. Welcome to this week's podcast episode, and I'm really excited about today's guest, Charlsey Childers, and she's a great guest for the female audience out there, the female physicians, entrepreneurs, talking about true deep inner confidence, and she works with clients. She's got extensive background in cognitive emotional psychology. She's an expert in energetics. She's a talk show guest. She's successful in her family and her relationships. I'm very happy to welcome her self-worth and confidence coach to the show. So, Charlsey, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, Chris. This is going to be a really impactful conversation, so I'm excited.
Yeah, I love your energy, and talk about, briefly just your background, a brief story, and what you do and how you can help the audience.
Yes, absolutely. So as you said, I am a self-worth and confidence coach. I work with big dreamers and high achievers, those who have big goals, big dreams, big visions for themselves and for their life. That looks like men or women. And I support them in feeling more certain, more aligned, and more authentic on their journey to accomplishing those visions and those dreams for themselves. So my background, like you mentioned, is cognitive and emotional psychology. I have a bachelor's and master's in psychology. And then I am a self-educated expert in energetics, and more so the embodiment of energetics and how to own my energy. I just got chills. We can definitely get into this if you would like, but yes, really owning energetics and bringing it seamlessly, combining it with psychology so that it's not all mental, right? It's also emotional. It's also, integrating our mind, our body, and our spirit to really own our identity and who we are as the visionaries in accomplishing our vision.
Yeah, which, it's a really fascinating story. So talk about the frameworks from which, because what's really interesting is you talk about an energetic expert in energetics. So what does that really mean, and what does that look like and feel when you're helping clients align their energies towards their goals and their dreams?
Yeah, absolutely. So for me and my perspective, at the heart of it, as far as owning your energy, it's really it is owning it. It is stepping into the self-leadership and self-responsibility of your thoughts, of your actions, and of your decisions so that you can be who you want to be in any given situation, and you aren't influenced by conditions. You aren't influenced by, let's say an unhappy patient walks in to the room, that your emotional state, it may dip, but that it doesn't drag you down. It doesn't knock you out. It doesn't ruin your entire day because you can recognize the dip, but not let it get the best of you. And so you can allow them to be where they are. And then you, because you are so in charge of who you are and in your internal world, that you can just pick right back up and keep going.
Yeah. But so one encounter or problem that I encountered, especially because a lot of empaths and a lot of very sensitive, they they'll get like somebody like a negative, or I'm not sure if it's the law of attraction, but someone negative or somebody just mean will just, and then they allow that to ruin their day, or they take it personally. What is the framework like? How do you create boundaries to kind of deal with these types of situations where it's really the other person, but it's like kind of, you feel like the whole world is dumping on you?
Yeah, such a beautiful question. And you mentioned law of attraction, the universal laws. That is definitely something that I am very familiar with. I very much lean into and embody those universal laws. And so there definitely comes with self-responsibility, with understanding that like can attract like, you know what I mean? The situation that you're experiencing, you may have co-created it in some way, but regardless of why the situation happened, being aware of how you're feeling in the situation is always where I start with. Because like you were speaking of empaths, that a lot of us we allow our emotions to have power over us rather than having power over our emotions. And so whether we are empaths, whether we are stoic, and a lot of masculine energy as far as not handling, and not processing those emotions, that is the other extreme of being an empath, right? And so they're both a mismanagement and an unhealthy management of our emotions. So being aware of our emotions is really where it starts, because once you can become aware of your emotions and learn to sit with them, truly learn to feel them, truly learn to process them, then you're in a more objective and neutral place to where you can work through them in a more systematic way.
Yeah, I love that. And part of that is just kind of realizing that it's not you, it's them, and kind of just once you kind of realize and awaken yourself, then you kind of develop these mental and emotional tools and strategies to kind of. And I think what's interesting is energetically, I think negative people can sense who they can dump on, but then it's kind of like if you start to put up boundaries, and you can sort of kind of shift the energetics of the situation. So
yeah, and then also that's where from my perspective, that's where the beauty of the psychology comes in, because really understanding if somebody is negative, understanding that if they're projecting that negativity on the outside, then what is going on the inside with their thoughts? And so really being able to psychoanalyze those people, that the negativity isn't about you, it is about them, but truly understanding from a psychological aspect why they're there. And from that standpoint, for me, it's so empowering. And also for my clients, it's so empowering because negativity, it doesn't have to block you. It doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to ruin that relationship. You know what I mean? You can allow it to be that way, but establish those boundaries so that their negativity doesn't rub on you too much.
The other, so a lot of the audience are high achievers, and they struggle with guilt, shame, self-doubt, internal limitations. What are some common internal constraints you've observed, and how do you help your clients overcome them? If you can share any success stories.
Yeah, absolutely. Such a beautiful question. And I know that so many, myself, yourself included, we can all relate at some level to the self-doubt, to guilt, to shame, and from a more general perspective. However, from my standpoint and working with my clients, and then also working on myself, coaching myself and guiding myself through it, that when we are pursuing our goals and we're wanting to expand externally, there has to be an internal expansion that goes along with it. And so a lot of times, let's see, for example, so one of my clients, she had aspirations of starting her own community center to be a center hub in her community that they could come to. But as the speech therapist, she thought that being a speech therapist, she thought there were a lot of expectations. She pursued that career because she thought that's what everybody wanted her to achieve. That was the most logical way. And so she desired the community center, but as far as stepping out, the external expansion of stepping out, building the community center, putting that logistically, putting it together, she encountered the doubts and who am I to do this? And why would anybody go to a community center when I'm just a speech therapist? You know what I mean? That's all I am. And so really addressing the specific doubts, the specific fears on the way to your next level, because I see in my clients so often that we set a goal, we have a vision, and we get to the point where we've cultivated enough courage to where we want to go after it, right? And then we think, all right, yes, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. And sometimes it is so seamless and so easy for us to do it. Other times, though, there are doubts that we've never encountered before, right? One for me was, who do I think I am to leave corporate? I've never been good at anything else. So what makes me think I'm going to be good at anything besides corporate? I went to school for this. That type of mindset that I had primed myself for. So digging into the specific of that doubt and not just digging into the specifics of it, but anticipating it. Anticipating, viewing the fear of judgment, the fear of rejection. From a general standpoint, yes, so many of us can relate to it, but really anticipating that we're going to experience it at some time. And that's a good thing. That is a good thing, because that means that we are evolving externally and we're also evolving internally. So how can we effectively evolve with the changes within ourselves?
Forget the burdens of tenants and toilets. Equity Multiple simplifies your investment journey, letting you invest passively in vetted, professionally managed commercial real estate. Only 5% of reviewed investments reach Equity Multiple's platform, with our asset management working on each from funding through exit to maximize your returns. Whether you're on the couch, in your exec chair, or the backseat of a ride share, Equity Multiple brings cash flowing real estate investments straight to your fingertips. All investments involve risk. Visit equitymultiple.com to learn more.
I really love your passion and how you describe it. And, it's like just, you have to kind of notice it and just kind of just deal with it. And especially these fears that just kind of limit you and just set you down. What are some practical tools or strategies that listeners can start using today to build their inner confidence? And you talked about to feel and to start to align and start to attract, what they want to achieve in life. You said most of your clients are, have big goals and dreams.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And thank you for that high compliment, by the way, about my passion. Thank you so much for that. And then as far as practical and tangible, it's all about that, right? What can we take away from the conversation? What can we really do here? What does this mean? And so for me, there are two places that I recommend your listeners start. The first thing is to, whichever comes easier to you, because write down what you want. Write down what you want in life. And to some people, that's really easy to identify. For some people, that's really hard to identify. So on the flip side of that, also write down what you don't want. So whether it's easier for you, meaning that there's less resistance, write down what you do want or what you don't want, and then do the opposite of that. And when you're writing down those things, what comes up for you? What are your thoughts? Do you believe, let's say you want to start your own practice, or let's say you want to branch out and I don't know, go from a physician to a restaurant owner. You know what I mean? And that's a real desire for you. What comes up for you when you think about your desire? Does it come up that you can't do it? Does it come up that you can do it? Do you believe that you're going to be successful at it? Do you think to yourself, oh, I would love to do this, but what will people think of me? But I won't have any friends. What about my colleagues? And so really identifying both what you do want and what you don't want. And so when you're identifying what you don't want, I don't want long hours. I don't want the sacrifice and the hustle. I don't want the burnout. I don't want to be on call. Those are all very real things, right? And so then we can, from this identifying of what we do want and what we don't want, then formulate it in a way to where, let's see, how can I say this? So if you've identified what you want and you've identified what you don't want, essentially you want to get to what is blocking you, what is stopping you, what are the fears, what are the doubts. Hang out there, right? Because a lot of people, it can come off, oh, I don't want this, I want this, I don't want this, I want this, but we don't go a level deeper beyond that. And so what are some thoughts that are coming up? Because then that's where the magic is. That's where your playground is of being able to play with those thoughts, those fears, and those doubts so you can transcend them and then therefore move towards what you want at a more accelerated, more aligned way, because you're not like bogged down by those doubts.
Yeah, I love that. One thing that one useful that one of my mentors was like kind of this, I like use emotions, and then you just ask why. You just keep asking her why, and it's like these trail of whys, and then it kind of leads you to eventually leads you to something that happened in childhood, or or whatnot, and then that helps you to address the pain, and then it's really helpful in like manifesting and attracting what you want in life. So
yeah, that's such a great example, Chris. And it's just at the end of the day, we're trying to get to the heart of it, right? We're trying to get to the heart of what's blocking us, or what's standing in the way, or why we truly want it. And so with my exercise and your previous guest exercise, both of them really drilling down, unpacking and unraveling those layers.
Yeah. And the other thing that really stood out to me when you were talking is you talked about certain, aligned, and authentic. And so how can individuals balance being true to themselves while navigating societal expectations? And what happens if what they want out of life is in contrast to what society and what their spouse and parents and all their friends are saying? How do you deal with that? Because that's severely limiting if you want to do something that's kind of outside of what society says deems as normal.
You're so right. You're so right, Chris. I'm so glad you picked up on that, because it's a really hard place to be. I've experienced it. That's actually where my journey began. So many of my clients have experienced it. And so it's this dichotomy of I want more. I feel like I'm called to more, and I want to step outside of the box and do something different. But, and so with those buts, you feel crazy. You feel guilty. You feel selfish for wanting to follow your heart, for wanting to do something that doesn't necessarily make sense. And so there are all these buts. And so navigating both of those, it's really hard. I'm actually working on a program right now, it's called Made for More, and it very much taps into that very thing. It's a 4-part masterclass, and we walk through the psychology and the energetics of the guilt, the selfishness, feeling crazy, feeling misunderstood and lonely. And so if anybody out there is feeling that way, anybody listening, first of all, I want you to know that you're not crazy, that your feelings are valid, and what you want is valid. And getting to that place within yourself of believing that it's valid, that you are worthy of going after whatever it is that you want to do, that believing and cultivating that certainty, cultivating that conviction within yourself of, I'm going to do this because I have to do it. I cannot go any longer ignoring that nudge within me, getting to that place of conviction and certainty. It's all a matter of dismantling that guilt, dismantling the feeling of being selfish for prioritizing yourself and all of the other things that people love to project onto us.
Yeah, and I love that. And kind of to end it out, how do you balance, a successful career as well as a, family life and kind of work-life balance? And how can people, especially the audience, they want to work with an energy coach or a manifestation coach? How can they reach you and find you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I heard a couple really great questions in there. So the first one is, what does it look like for me personally to balance a successful career and family life? And I really think that's a beautiful full circle way of wrapping up this conversation. For me, it is about, getting to that place within that place of certainty within myself. Because once I was sure that I was being called to become a self-worth and confidence coach, how can you not support somebody? You know what I mean? They were all on board. Once I was fully on board, then they got on board. And so that looks like my kids right now. I told them that, I have a guest podcast appearance. And so they are playing in a tent under the kitchen table, and so those boundaries, communicating the expectations and them knowing that this is a priority and them seeing that I am following my dream, I'm following my calling. And so being intentional about it, being intentional, having the boundaries, making sure there are so many things, prioritizing my self-care so that I can show up as my best in my career and as a mom and as a wife. And being intentional, self-care, communication with my husband. So talking to him, and learning how to talk to him in a way that he gets it, but that he's not too involved. You know what I mean? That he understands what's going on in my workday, but just like in a 9-to-5 or, any type of other job. Let's see, what are some other tips? Intentionality is a big one. And I think those are the two, getting to that place where I can be successful in my career. I can be fulfilled. I'm not selfish for it. I can also be a really great mom and a really great wife, getting to that place within myself and then working out the family dynamics within that. So that is my advice. And then as far as where people can reach me, I am on Instagram. My handle is at Charlsey Childers. I'm sure you will put it in the episode description, but that is really the best place. And then I also have a podcast called Seeing Your Inner Brilliance, if you'd like to listen more.
Yeah. And I really enjoyed this conversation and the energy and your enthusiasm and your passion. And for all the audience, be sure to give Charlsey a like and follow on our socials and reach out to her if you need extra coaching or mentorship or support. And thanks so much for coming on.
I'm excited that you made it for another episode. You are truly the best. If you've been following the show for a while, you know that my passion is to bring you the education you need to find your path to financial freedom. Please come back week after week for new content, new resources, and great guests. Until then, if you haven't already, please be sure to check out the website, www.drchrislumdphd.com for more support. I'll see you next week.